Well, hello, welcome 2025. Thank you so much for supporting this Blue Star Careers webinar. I'm Laura Torres. Thank you for joining these weekly webinars where we bring you our activities and resources that support your future growth, ongoing career journey, but also most importantly, what do you need to be successful this 2025? Tell us in the comments. We love to be able to send you shout out, but also highlight your questions with our guests. Today, we have an exclusive discussion with Sherri Sales, a public affairs specialist from the IRS, the Tax Outreach Partnership and Education Office. We're here today to explore essential 2025 tax topics tailored for career minded individuals. So, all of our military spouse communities, of course, we're so career minded. We want to make sure and ensure that you are taken care of and understand how to really tackle your 2025 with success. Our goal today is to share the key tax tips to maximize your financial mindset, but also, most importantly, support your trajectory. So, no matter where the military takes you, you know how to navigate and identify the resources that are here to support you. Plus, guess what? Sherri has been a IRS employee for a very, very long time, and she has had her share of multiple opportunities. So she's going to share with us as well her career trajectory, what she loves about the organization, and how perhaps you can also identify roles that will fit your military lifestyle and career need. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started and welcome Sherri. Please type your comments and let us know where you're watching. We'd love to be able to send you a shout out and begin 2025 with great career planning success for you. Well, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you might be watching this. We're live. See, boop, live, directly streaming into Facebook, LinkedIn, our digital community in the neighborhood, as well as we are on YouTube. So, whatever you're watching, please post it in the comments, share with us where you are so that we can support you and let you know, highlight your questions. Thank you so much. We welcome Sherri Sales. Thank you, Sherri, from the IRS. We're here to support you and support some general questions, but also we have some really cool updates to share with you. But without further ado, Sherri, please introduce yourselves. Tell us if any military connection or why you love doing this incredible career with the IRS.
Thank you, Laura. My name is Sherri Sales, and as far as connections to the military, my father was in the Air Force, and both of my husband's parents were in the military as well, and they met at the Pentagon during an assignment there, and were married, and plus I have my husband. So we are definitely connected to the military. But as
Oh,
far as my career with the IRS, I've been at the IRS since 1995, and I started in facilities with the intent that I wanted to become a revenue agent. But at the time, they just frozen the position, so I got my foot in the door. So when you're in facilities, you're working different aspects of building management. So in my position, because of my accounting background, I used to handle all the rent bills for the IRS from Central California all the way down to the Mexican border, Arizona, New Mexico. And then also I would handle repairs. So any kind of shredder repair, keys, locks, anything like that, that was what I did for 8 years. And then I was able to transition to becoming the revenue agent I wanted to be at the IRS, which is when I speak to you today. A lot of what I speak to you about is based on the experience I've received as a revenue agent. And I would audit small business self-employed taxpayers with assets of 10 million or less. I found it very rewarding being a revenue agent. And the reason why is because, not because I was auditing people, but because I was learning, speaking to people and learning about their businesses and learning about them. And it's very intriguing. You don't realize when you're talking to people how detailed a business can be, and just all the different little aspects of it. So I really loved talking and getting to know our taxpayers. And then I had a wonderful opportunity back in 2021 to transition to what I'm doing today, a public affairs specialist. And so the division I work for is called Tax Outreach, Partnership, and Education. And I work with nationwide organizations to give them information and resources from the IRS, and also to do educational webinars with like what we're doing today. So I find that rewarding. I was telling Laura, sometimes dealing with the IRS can be very scary,
Yeah.
and just having those resources at your fingertips makes it not so scary. And IRS has wonderful resources, very user friendly, our website. And so I'm thrilled to be able to present that to you today, how wonderful our resources are to take the guesswork out of questions that any of you listening today might have. So hopefully I'm able to do that for you today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sherry. What a wonderful career trajectory that you have enjoyed throughout and along. And I did share the links down below for some of our members who are watching and might also watch the replay and explore. We're not here today to do outreach for the IRS as far as job placement and non-jobs abroad, that kind of thing. But we really want to highlight, of course, since we're here, we have a happy employee who works there, loves it. She has gone through multiple areas of expertise. And, it's a great connection that you can find her on LinkedIn. And if you recall, team, our connections to a job increases when you can speak to someone, when you know more about what they do, and can have those that network, the network that can actually educate you better about internal company culture. And plus, I imagine the IRS is so massive big. There's so many departments you could possibly get lost. So go and check out the links, explore more, and then, of course, conduct informational interviews with the community members that are part of your network. And if we can do anything to support you, by all means, please reach out. So now, Sherry, you have a lot of great wealth of resources today, information that you want us to know. Plus, we all want to know as well for 2025 to really build that 2025 financial mindset muscle. Because if we are financially well, and we understand, I think we can shop better for a better career. We can make better decisions as well for our families, and we can really set up a whole outlook for our just in general, our planning, right?
Definitely. And what's nice is I'm going to be talking today about starting and operating a business. So whether you are a spouse of somebody who's deployed right now, or you are deployed and you're going to be retiring soon and becoming a veteran, and thinking about your job opportunities, starting a business is always something that you can consider. And whether, like I said, if you're a spouse that moves around to different posts of duties, you could take this business with you and consider. I'm going to give you some of the resources to consider that today. I know one of the biggest hurdles for spouses is you get into an employed position, and then your military spouse moves to a new location, and you're forced to quit and then find a new job. But by at least starting a business, it's something that you can carry with you from location to location. So hopefully I can give you some of those resources to make that a consideration for you today.
Absolutely. And yeah, the 9 to 5 doesn't work for everybody. There aren't enough exciting remote opportunities right now sometimes. Everything is a little bit it's still very competitive. But a business, that's your baby, that's your project, that's your identity can be as well. And then you get to shape it up and detail it more and keep it more portable and more. You get to start building the sustainability of it as you go along. So I'm going to go ahead and bring our screen so Sherry can walk us a little bit more about what starting a business it's all about, but also IRS resources in general. So Sherry, go ahead, take it over, please.
Thank you so much, Laura. What I would like to recommend for anybody who's watching, if there's a certain slide that you really like, I recommend that maybe you take your cell phone out and take a picture of it, because there's some great tips and resources. I believe Laura is going to be posting this or sharing this after the slide presentation. But just in case you're not able to access it, if there's something that really hits home with you and you really find that useful, I would totally recommend taking pictures of the slides, whatever one that that you feel is most helpful for you. So I'm going to be talking to you today about tax tips for entrepreneurs that are starting and operating a business. If you are currently in a business, there's going to be some great tips for you also that maybe you weren't aware of. On our next slide, our agenda. So I'm going to be talking to you about the tax information for businesses. And I'm also at the end of the presentation, I'm going to be giving you some great IRS small business resources. On our next slide. So the first slide here is, again, a great slide you might want to take a screenshot of. So our website is irs.gov, and on any website, you always have a little search box. And so on this particular one, irs.gov/businesses. But if you were at the irs.gov website, you can also put businesses in the search engine, and you would get this page. But any other questions you might have about the IRS, if you go to that search engine and put that in there, that will help you to direct you to any question you might have. What I want to point out on the slide is right below the web address, irs.gov/businesses, you're going to see 8 primary languages here. So all of our tax information is available in 8 primary languages. We do have additional information up to 21 languages, but everything I'm going to show you today is available in these 8 primary languages. So what I want to highlight on this slide is that we have tax information for businesses. You can get information about a employer ID number, employment tax, estimated taxes, the Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act here. There's information about preparing your taxes, filing your taxes for a business. At the bottom, you're going to see information about the different business types. I'm going to be going through all of that today during the slides. But I want to point my attention here to the right side of the slide where it says run your business. And specifically, I'm going to be going through all of these points today with you. So on our next slide, starting a business, you'll see information about starting a business. And what I want to point out on the left-hand side here, where it says starting a business, it shows individuals. So if you ever had questions individually about your individual taxes, if you were to click on that link, that would bring up information for your individual 1040 tax return. But today we're going to be focusing on our business and self-employed. So this is the different information I'm going to be talking about today. And we're going to be talking about starting a business first. So what new business owners need to know about federal taxes? So when you go to this particular part of our website, you'll get information about your business. Sometimes when people are starting a business, maybe they're doing it more because it's a fun hobby. Like maybe you like to make a certain type of item and sell it, maybe at craft fairs or online, but you really have no intent in making a profit, but it's more a business that's going to keep you busy and doing something that you really enjoy doing. But although we hope that you're always enjoying your business, whether it's for profit or not, but this will give you information about if it's a business or a hobby. Selecting a business structure, your employee identification number, otherwise known as an EIN. It's going to give you information about business taxes, record keeping. When do you start your tax year? Sometimes people are like, well, what does that mean? Well, some people have a calendar year tax system, which is January 1st to December 31st. You might be starting your business, we'll say in April, because you might have a seasonal type business that caters to people during the summertime. So that might be maybe a fiscal year type business. We also provide a checklist for the items that you need to start a business. If you are a business owner, you might want to consider having a retirement plan. Maybe you have employees and you want to start a 401k. There's information about that. And there's also information about our small business publications that assist you. On our next slide, business structures. I think you went one too far. Starting a business, business structures. Yes. Okay. So there are different business structures you want to consider when you're starting a business. So most popular is the sole proprietor. That is somebody who's an individual starting a business. Most always they're filing a Schedule C under their 1040. They're not incorporated. And then you have what we call a partnership, which is a Form 1065. And a partnership is 2 or more people. And you have a C corporation and an S corporation. The difference between a C corporation and an S corporation is a C corporation pays taxes at the corporate level. An S corporation, the taxes flow through to the shareholders and they're paid at the 1040 level. Now, outside of the red box on the slide, you see limited liability company. And what I want to mention about that is a limited liability company is something that's mandated through the state and it's not federally mandated. So many times when I'm out in public facing events and I'm speaking to taxpayers and I ask them what kind of business you have, they'll say, oh, I have an LLC. But an LLC is more or less structured through the state. And so, like your corporations can be LLCs, your sole proprietorships could be LLCs, or even your partnership could be an LLC. But really, it's when I ask about structure, it's more about for federal purposes, what type of tax return you're filing. The LLC is more of the state. So, if you ever have questions about your LLC, I would recommend or direct you to your state tax filing system to ask those questions. On our next slide, I'd like to talk about employee identification number. So what's really interesting about an EIN is if you're filing for a corporate or a partnership type return and you file through the IRS and the state, they're going to give you an EIN number automatically. But if you're a sole proprietor, many sole proprietors don't require an EIN number, and many will use their social security number. I highly, highly recommend that you still apply for an EIN number. And the reason why is because using your social security number can make you a victim of identity theft. You need your social security, you need your EIN number or your social security number when doing business. If you're going to hire a contractor, you have to give them a 1099. If you're using a social security number, you're putting your social security number in all of those 1099s. Or if you have employees, you might be putting that social security number on their W-2s. So for that reason, to protect yourself and to protect your identity, I highly recommend, if you're going to be a sole proprietor, that you do indeed get an EIN number. So when you go to the irs.gov/EIN, this is the page you're going to see, and this is going to give you information about an EIN. Do you need an EIN number? You might have an existing EIN number, and you might be maybe changing the aspect of your business. And you might wonder, do I need a new EIN number? You might want to wonder, how do you even apply for an EIN number? What happens if you have an EIN number and you've lost or misplaced it? Maybe your business and you want to cancel your business. This will tell you how to cancel EIN number. It'll give you all the different information about the EIN number. And if you look at the bottom of the slide, it also allows you to apply for an EIN number online. So if you go to the next slide, this actually tells you how to apply for an EIN number. So the most important thing I want to highlight here is that, believe it or not, when you're applying for an EIN number, there is a live person at the other end at the IRS that's going to process your application live while you're filling it out, which is a great thing. So you're going to get an immediate response. But with that, you have to be prepared to apply for the EIN number and have all the information you need in front of you. So the hours of operation are 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., Monday through Friday, Eastern Standard Time. When you're doing that, this is going to determine your eligibility to apply for an EIN number. So when you apply for the EIN number, it's based on where your principal business is located. It needs to be in the United States or U.S. territories. The person applying online must have a valid taxpayer identification number, which could be an SSN, a ITIN, or an EIN. And you are limited to applying for only one EIN per responsible party per day. And the responsible party is the person who's going to be ultimately having control of the business or entity and who exercises the ultimate effective control. So unless the applicant is a government entity, the responsible party must be an individual, a natural person, not an entity. And then the step 3 would be, or step 2 is understanding the online application. you want to make sure you have all the information in front of you, because what happens is if you let the application process idle for 15 minutes, you will it'll start back fresh. You'll lose everything you've input, and you want to make sure you have all the information to go forward at that time. And once you've totally completed the application, you hit submit, and then within 15 minutes, you will get that reply. And you want to be prepared to either download the information or, again, get your cell phone out and take a picture of that confirmation number with that new EIN number that you're going to have. On our next slide. All right, we're going to talk about understanding business taxes. So there's different types of taxes. So we talked about business structure, but there's different types of taxes within the tax system. So everybody's aware of income taxes. We all pay them for any income that you earn. But there's also estimated taxes. There's self-employment taxes. There's employment taxes, and then there's excise taxes. So the income tax is income that's based on income that you're earning. Estimated taxes, what would happen is you would pay quarterly taxes based on the income that you're earning. So especially if you're a sole proprietor, sole proprietor, and as you're earning income, nobody's taking federal withholding out. So you want to do that based on your earnings. So on a quarterly basis, it's usually the end of January, the end of April, the end of July, the end of October, you're paying your quarterly taxes. Estimated taxes is what I just talked about. Self-employment tax consists of the Social Security and Medicare. And then also you have the excise tax, which is based on the manufacturing of items. At our next slide. And I'm going to try to be brief on some of these because I could talk all day on any one of these slides, and I know we're limited to time. So again, that was why I suggested taking pictures of some of the slides. So on this slide, when you click on operating a business, this is what you're going to see. And so all of these links will give you more information, which some of these we will talk about today. So again, information about the employer identification number, record keeping, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. If you ever need to change your business name, if you have a business with employees, you always want to talk about educating your employees about tax compliance. And basically what that means is you might hire employees, and when they're filling out their W-4, you might have somebody who puts down they have 10 dependents, but they don't. And a lot of times that will happen because maybe someone doesn't want to withhold all their taxes up front, but then they can get in a bad tax situation at the end of the year when they file their taxes. So you do want to talk to them about employee, tax compliance and not getting stuck at the end of the year by having too little withheld. Paying independent contractors. So that would be when you're issuing a 1099 NEC, non-employee compensation, for your contractors. And then also what's the difference is between taxable and non-taxable income, which we'll get into in a little bit. On our next slide. So let's talk a little bit about record keeping. Record keeping is the bones to your business. That's how you know if your business is successful or not. It's important in everyone in a business must keep records. So again, the irs.gov website /record keeping is key to getting this information. So what does good records do for you? It's going to help you monitor the progress of your business activity. You might not know if you didn't have good record keeping, you're not going to know what sells, what doesn't sell, what works, what doesn't work. So by having good records, it helps you monitor the progress of your business. Also, if you need to increase or make decreases or maybe discontinue a certain aspect of your business, you're going to be able to know that by your good record keeping. Preparing your financial statements. So good record keeping helps you prepare your financial statements. So this would be like income statements, expense statements, profit and loss statements. It's going to give you that information. And then that ties into identifying your receipt sources. So receipt sources is going to be your income, knowing where your income comes from. So by having good records, you can monitor, again, the successes of your business, tracking deductible expenses. So deductible expenses, a lot of times people think, well, I have my bank statements, which is important to have, and I have my credit card statements. But just as an example, Costco, and many people are aware of Costco. It's a large box warehouse. And people will think, well, I have a Costco bill and it's on my credit card statement, and so I can deduct the whole thing. But it's so important to keep those individual receipts because sometimes you could have personal items on that. And I can tell you, as an auditor, we would not allow a bank statement that says Costco because it doesn't give that detail. So that's why you really need to keep those expense receipts. And what I used to do as a revenue agent is I would recommend to people to look at a Schedule C, even if you're a corporation. Look at a Schedule C because it really basically gives you all the expense categories on a Schedule C. And I would recommend to create file folders. And as you get expenses under receipts under the different expense items, I would recommend to people to put those receipts in those file folders to keep you organized so you don't lose those receipts. And at the end of the year, when it comes time to preparing your financial statements and your tax return, it's much easier having them already organized. You could even take it a step further and create like an Excel spreadsheet, and you can keep track of your expenses by categories on that as well. And that, again, keeps you very organized. And then preparing your tax return. You need to have good record keeping to prepare an accurate tax return. I'm going to get into preparing tax returns in a little bit. But the most important thing is, when you're signing your tax return, you're signing that your return is accurate and complete. And good records helps assure that you're going to have a good, accurate tax return. And lastly, and again important, is that you need items to support what you've put on your tax return. And record keeping will do that, or will support what you've put on your tax return. On our next slide, reporting all taxable income. So most income is taxable unless otherwise specified by law as being exempted. So you can receive the income in many different forms. People receive income in cash, check, credit card. Nowadays you have Square, you have Zelle, and you have PayPal. You have assignment of income. A good way of explaining what assignment of income is maybe you are a realtor and you're selling homes and you work with the escrow company. So the escrow company is going to assign the income to you based on home sales. You have virtual currencies like crypto. And then you have non-cash exchanges such as bartering. And so I always like to explain what bartering is because sometimes I don't think people realize to the extent of how bartering can be taxable. But I'm going to use the example of a dentist and a carpenter. And the carpenter could go to the dentist and find out he needs $2,000 worth of dental work. And the dentist might say, hey, I need a new deck in the back of my house. And so they might exchange carpenter might provide the deck to the dentist. The dentist is going to provide the dental services. And we'll say those dental services are worth $2,000. Well, then the carpenter needs to add to his income $2,000 for the dental services that acts as income to him for payment of services. And on the flip side, that dentist needs to put the value of the deck as income on his return. So that's how bartering works. And when you have that exchange of services, it is considered taxable. On our next slide. Tips for choosing a tax preparer. So, there's a taxpayer who regularly uses a tax professional to help them file a tax return, or they have decided to work with one for the first time. It is so important to choose a tax return preparer wisely. Taxpayers are responsible for all the information on their tax return, as I noted earlier. And when you're signing that tax return, you're signing that it's true regardless of who prepared that return. So, to check a preparer's qualifications, you can go to the IRS.gov, to the IRS directory of federal tax return preparers with credentials, and select credentials. And so this is going to give you information mainly about our oh my gosh. lost that information here, about our CPAs, and then you can also get information about, let me just look here really quick. I think just kind of an enrolled agent, sorry. About enrolled agents is where you're going to get at the irs.gov. But also for CPAs, you want to go to the State Board of Accountancy. And then for attorneys, you're going to go to the State Bar Association to get information about attorneys. Then you can also check the preparer's history at the three agencies I talked to you about. When you're dealing with a preparer, you want to ask them about service fees. Because a lot of times, maybe somebody who's not, it could be more fraudulent in preparing returns, they're more apt to want to charge you as much as they can for things that really should be included in a basic return filing. One of the examples I want to use with that is we've done preparer projects at the IRS, and some preparers, they will encourage a business person to file extra returns. So they might encourage them, maybe they're a sole proprietor, and they might say, well, you need to be a corporation. And not everybody needs to be a corporation, especially somebody that's like a hobby. They don't need to be a corporation. And they might encourage them to go through the whole expense of incorporating. And what happens is that preparer now gets to charge extra money for filing corporate returns in addition to 1040 returns. So you want to really be careful at what they suggest to you to make sure that what they're suggesting is correct and right for you and your business situation. You want to ask if they e-file. You want to make sure that the preparer is going to always be available to you, not just tax time. And again, you might ask why, because if you were selected for audit, you want to make sure that they're going to be there to help and support you during an audit and explain like what they put on your tax return. And explaining, in addition to explaining what's on your tax return, when they prepare your tax return, if you receive that return and you don't understand what's on there, you should always ask what they put on there and why they put it there. And many times, not many times, but there are times that people might see something that they don't recognize as an expense that they incurred. And that's the time that you need to ask them, what is this expense and why is it there? Because you are, again, signing your return, attesting that it's correct and accurate. Always want to make sure that you're giving your tax return preparer your records and receipts, because how else can they prepare an accurate return? But they need to base it on the what's actually happening with your business. Never sign a blank return, because you're giving your return in the hands of somebody. If it's signed, they could put whatever they want on there, and you're not going to know if it's correct and complete and accurate. Always review the details about your refund. And then lastly, if you do encounter a situation where you feel the preparer is abusive, you should always report them to the IRS. A situation I'm going to give is, and I've seen this in the past, where I've audited somebody and they said, well, my friend told me to go to this preparer because they give bigger refunds. They know how to give me deductions to make me have a better refund. If you ever hear that, I would say run far away from that person, because if it's too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And if you're ever audited, most likely you're going to be paying taxes. And we want your return to be accurate and complete and not fraudulent because somebody put you in that situation. On our next slide, let's talk about our Small Business Self-Employed Tax Center. Again, another link, irs.gov and /small business. And this is going to give you information about our tax center. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what's in these boxes here. So you're going to get information about our self-employed independent contractor versus employee. This is a really good information for a business owner, because you might hire somebody to do work for you, and you might think, well, they're a contractor and I don't want to pay employment taxes, so I'm going to treat them like a contractor. But if this person only works for you, you dictate their hours, you tell them where to sit and when to come in, they act as an employee to you, you need to treat them as an employee. If you have a contractor, a situation. A contractor is somebody who dictates their own hours. They work for multiple people and they may come to you and perform services. That person you should treat as a contractor. But you really need to know the differences because that could get you in trouble. This is going to give you information again about the business structure, which we already talked about. It's going to give you information about if you choose to have employees, about the employment taxes. It's going to give you information about preparing your taxes and what business tax credits could be available to you, how to deduct expenses that are for your business, record keeping, employment taxes, and business tax transcripts, which I'll get to you in a little bit. And also information about filing your tax return. We also have a tax calendar. I absolutely love this tool. If you click on it later, if you go to irs.gov, go /tax calendar. It gives you, you can sign up. It'll give you reminders of when information's due, like when you need to file your quarterly estimates, when you need to file payroll taxes, when you need to file your income taxes. But it'll give you these reminders, which is fantastic. Because especially if you're a new business owner, you're not going to be used to those dates. So it's a really good tool for you to have. And if for some reason you find that you have forgotten to file a tax return, there's information about filing past due tax returns and information return reporting, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. On our next slide, tax credits. So there's different types of tax credits that you can file. Some tax credits you can file for individually, or you can file as a business owner. So the home energy tax credits, here's information about that here. This is part of the Inflation Reduction Act of 2022. You might be thinking, what does this have to do with my business? But but it can, if you're doing things to make your house more energy efficient for your business, you should definitely take advantage of these credits. On our next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about the clean vehicle tax credits. So again, if you go to the irs.gov /clean vehicles, this gives you information about buying a personal vehicle, a vehicle for business, or even used vehicles. Some great information. It talks about qualifications. I'm not going to get into all that here today, but just know that there is great information out there. The thing about the clean vehicle credits, which I'll go to the next page, each year the qualifications change based on battery components, based on where the vehicle is manufactured. So you want to always be checking on this if you're in the business or if you would like to buy a clean vehicle to get the credit. Department of Energy, DOE.gov, is another great resource about home energy credits and vehicle credits. As far as the items that qualify, there's different rebate amounts. I would highly recommend that you go there. On our next slide is the tax credit update for the every year, and sometimes twice a year, our mileage rates change based on things that happen in our economy. Sometimes inflation's up, things cost more, they might change the mileage rate in the middle of the year. But effective January 1st, 2025, the mileage rate did change. It was 67 cents for 2024, starting January 1st at 70 cents. This is for all of your vehicles, including electric vehicles. It's 70 cents a mile for the business part of the vehicle mileage that you're using. So if you're using your personal vehicle, you want to make sure you're differentiating what's business and what's personal, and only the business miles get that 70 cents per mile. On our next slide is the IRS online account. So this right here is more for yourself personally. I'm going to get to the business part in a minute. So the IRS online account, which is irs.gov /account, gives you information about establishing an account to help you answer questions you might have with the IRS. Many times people will get on the phone, they wait hours trying to get through to an IRS agent. So this is supposed to help you to save you time and to help maybe figure out questions you might have. If you go to our publication, so if you were to go to irs.gov in the search engine, put pub 5533, this publication would come up, and it's going to tell you the information about, you can view any balances you might owe with the IRS, tax records. This could be like W-2s, 1099s, and any notices you've received from the IRS. If you need to make a payment with the IRS, if you maybe filed your taxes and you owe a balance, if you want to establish a payment plan, this will give you information about that. You can make a same-day payment right online with a credit card. You can do that. You can get your tax transcripts. If you've received a letter from the IRS in the mail and you've lost it, you can go here and view any letter that was sent to you. Authorizations. This is if you have a power of attorney. You can go ahead and view and approve power of attorney forms, Form 2848 here. And then also your profile, if you move and you need to make an address change, you can do that here. On our next slide is the business online account. So who can use this? So this would be for sole proprietors and for partnerships and S corps. And it kind of gives you the same functionality as the personal online accounts, but this is for your business returns. So on our next slide, this gives you specifically more information about our business online account, how to access your business tax account. It's going to give you information about viewing your business balances that are due, your business tax records. You can select any digital notices you might have received, your tax compliance check. You can view your business name and address on file. The same thing for partnerships and S corps. You can view business balance due notices and your name on file. And then anything more specific to, like I said, the 1040 is going to be in the online account. On our next slide, this is our information returns intake system, otherwise known as IRS. So this is when you file 1099 forms with the IRS. So this is if you have contractors and you need to issue 1099s. In the past, before 2023, if you needed to issue 1099s, you had to contact the IRS to get the form sent to you to be able to fill them out. Now, if you have 10 or more, you can actually do it online. So it saves you a lot of time. And you can e-file up to 100 returns at a time. You can enter it manually, or you can do what they call a CSV upload. You can download the payee copies to distribute, and you can keep a record of the completed, filed, and distributed forms. And you can save and manage issuer information for the future as well. At our next slide, the irs.gov. Again, love our webpage. /IRIS. So again, if you're just at the iris.gov page and you don't want to put the whole address in, just go to the search engine, put IRIS, you'll get this information, or you could put pub 5731 and you'll get this pub. And what's really nice about this pub is it's got a QR code. A lot of our pubs are starting to have QR codes where you can just get your cell phone out and scan the QR code. It'll take you right to the IRIS webpage. To give you that information about the information return intake system. On our next slide, this is our electronic payment option, electronic federal payment tax payment system. This is where you're going to be making payments. So you can schedule payments up to 365 days in advance. You can make your tax payment from home or in your office 24/7. So if you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and you really want to make a payment to the IRS for a tax that you might owe or balance due, you can do it at any time. You could pay your income, employment, your estimated and excise federal tax payments here. You can easily change or cancel scheduled payments. So if you did do 365 days in advance, you can change the dates. You can track your payments with an email notification. You can view 15 months of a payment history, and you can receive help with payments or questions from our customer service agents, which there's a link on there to do that. And then also on our next slide, our next slide is about employee retention credits. So this, if you are a new business owner, this might not apply to you, but if you were a business owner back when COVID had hit in 2020 and 21, the IRS had offered employee retention credits for people who retain their employees when their business might have shut down. And you might be wondering, well, why am I talking about this now? But if you were in business, all tax returns have a 3-year statute. So as an example, 2020 tax return would have been filed in 21. The 3-year statute would have been expiring in 24. 2021 was the second year for the employee retention credit. So those tax return statutes are going to be expiring in April of 2025, which is this year. So we bring this up in case for some reason you really didn't know about the employee retention credit, but you did have a business, you did retain people. I highly recommend that you talk to a tax preparer about this. It's complicated. You would have to amend your return if you didn't file for this, but this gives you the detail. Also, if you were a business owner and you did file an employee retention credit and you haven't received your credit, there was a lot of scams. If you go to our next page, next slide, there were a lot of scams relating to the employee retention credit. There was a time that the IRS had to shut down processing these because there were so many scams, and they had to try to determine what was legitimate, what wasn't. About 6 months ago, they started processing what wasn't processed as of that point. They started processing them again. So anyway, so this is more just to make you aware of the fact that there are some companies still out there trying to get people to sign up to get their employee retention credit. So just be aware of that, and don't be a victim of a scam. And on our next slide, so this is some of our social media that we put out there. And so our employee retention credit scam was publicized on our social media. We also have other tax scams that we do every year. We highlight the top 12 scams. And so you can see here, the top left picture talks about the employee retention credit. But the IRS.gov, if you went to Dirty Dozen in the search engine, it will tell you the top 12 scams of 2024. We don't know 2025 yet. Usually we publish those in like September, October, of the scams that we're seeing, that we're experiencing throughout the year. But we try to make everybody aware of that so nobody becomes a victim. At our next slide. Speaking of becoming a victim, I always recommend getting an IP PIN, personal identity protection PIN. It's a mouthful, sorry. And again, we have the little QR codes for all the different languages. This would be anybody in your family. It could even be children. The one thing I would highly recommend is senior citizens who maybe don't have a filing requirement. And why that's important is because if they don't have a filing requirement, they might be thinking, oh, I don't have to file, so I won't be a victim. But if someone got a hold of a senior citizen's Social Security number, they might file on their behalf a tax return that's fraudulent. And then all of a sudden the IRS contacts that senior citizen. And this is how they find out that they've become a victim of identity theft. So by having an IP PIN, it's a second layer of authentication. So if someone's trying to steal your identity and file a false tax return, if you have the IP PIN, they won't be able to do that because they won't have the IP PIN. And this is something that you have to reapply for every year, but you want to do that to protect yourself. Next slide. So just like Blue Star Family, who's on all the different social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, X, which was formerly Twitter, and Instagram, the IRS is also on these social media pages, and we're always trying to get the messages out to you to help inform you about different things like tax scams, about changes in business tax, or any changes out there at all. We're always trying to educate you, the taxpayer, and this is different ways that you can find those resources. On our next slide. So the IRS has different resources that you can sign up for. So IRS has tax tips, IRS tax tips. We have e-news for small businesses. They give you important upcoming tax dates for our small business self-employed customers. What's new for small businesses on the IRS website, reminders and tips to assist small businesses with tax compliance, and then the news releases and special IRS announcements pertaining to small business self-employed customers. Another thing, I know we've had a lot of different tragedies between hurricanes and fires and so forth, floods. A lot of the tax due dates, because of federally declared disaster areas, get changed. And this is a good place to find out. If you sign up for these news releases, you'll find out if your area was subject to a federal disaster, what the new tax due date would be. So this is good. When you subscribe, you get that kind of information. IRS on our next slide offers a video portal. So you can look at different videos on the left-hand side. This is the different subjects on the video portal to help educate yourself. And on our next slide, we have workshops that you can sign up for, or there's little video snippets that you can do. And if you see on the right side of the slide, it shows you there's lesson 1's about federal taxes in your new business, lesson 2, Schedule C and other small business taxes, and so forth, all the way down. There's different lessons, which is great. One thing I like to joke about is sometimes, again, if you're 3 o'clock in the morning, you can't sleep, and you have that burning desire to learn something new about how to do your business with the IRS, you can always go online. Don't laugh at me when I say this, but you can always watch one of our videos. It might put you to sleep, maybe not, but it'll give you good information. So you can look at this 24/7. And lastly, what I really want to highlight on this slide is SCORE stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives. These are executives who have been successful in their businesses and just really want to give back to the community. People who are starting businesses, they want to be able to use their expertise and help other people be successful. This is a free service that you can sign up for if you go to score.org. There's over 10,000 volunteers. They're going to give you free business advice and mentoring, low or no cost webinars and workshops, and free business templates and resources. So again, a great resource. This is not through the IRS, but we publicize this because it really is another great resource that we want you to know about to help you with your business. And the last slide, we're at the end here. I'm sorry, I try to keep this short. But I want to thank you again for attending this presentation with Blue Star Families. Hopefully what I've talked to you today about has been helpful, and it will help your business. Hopefully you now have the resources to help yourself. If you get stuck or if you have burning questions, please go here. And I know a lot of what I have sent Blue Star Families, they have folders under the IRS in the neighborhood to be able to go back and reference if you have questions. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Laura. Hopefully I didn't take too much time.
No, it was wonderful. I had no idea you guys had so much great information now up to date. And I was looking at the different websites when you were sharing the different links to all the different areas of expertise and support. What user friendly, just I mean, technology just become our friend, I think, with the IRS. It used to be that it was all usually sometimes a struggle trying to figure it out how to navigate the site, but it's just there's so much great information. And you're right, thank you for sending that shout out. We are going to we have a media in our media center, in our media folder, in the Blue Star Careers community. All of the updates, all of the great information that Sherri shares with us monthly, weekly, as she gets her hands on, we'll share those with you. Of course, the IRS, of course, is the biggest place where you source, where you can go and navigate those. And so we really appreciate that. I do have a couple of questions for you, Sherri, as you were going through this. Um, that were came up here, and let me just real quick because I wrote them down, so I would not lose them. But if I close my business, um, a lot of military spouses, I think we're all, have like a side gig and whatnot. And sometimes we don't think we have a business, but we are. If you're a 1099 employee, you are technically have to file sometimes as a business, right? But if I close my business, do I need to notify the IRS, and what would that be the process to do so?
So if you are a corporation, if you are a partnership, C Corp, S Corp, you do need to file a final return. Even on your Schedule C, there is a box that says, is this the last year of this business? And you need to check that box. And you need to state that. I would even highly recommend that in red pen on your final tax return, that you even write at the top, this is the final year of this tax return. Even though there's a box to check, I would also highlight it there, Because if for some reason, if it ever gets pulled, or sometimes IRS might do like random, they pull randomly for audits, and they might see XYZ corporation didn't file, like they maybe you closed the return, your business in 2023. They might be looking at 2024. And they might see XYZ didn't file a return and they might pull it. Whoever gets it, they always are going to look at the prior year and they're going to look to see, oh, this person filed their final return in 2023. So any attention you can draw to that final return, you want to do that. So definitely check the box. It's final return, but you also, I would again, red pen right at the top if you're
Got it.
filing by paper, or somehow in like a note section, you can put notes in there. I would put this is a final return.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And I do want to want some of our members who are watching or might hear or have been here towards the end. We're talking to Sherri Sales from the IRS. She's part of the IRS outreach office in partnership with education. She has given us a wealth of just tremendous resources available to the IRS. These will be available for you in the Blue Star Careers community. Of course, all the links, everything else for you to do your homework. Our goal is not to tax advise you. Our goal is not to create any other planning situations for you. Our goal is to help you and get you educated or link you up to the resources so that you can educate yourself. As you saw, the IRS has all of the great information. Now, why we were talking about small businesses, because a lot of spouses sometimes when they go into careers or when they are looking for flexible remote work, sometimes they get asked or they get encouraged to apply for 1099 roles. A 1099 role sometimes can then translate your tax situation into you becoming a small business, and then perhaps also that also triggers you perhaps are interested in being a small business owner, or you are already an established business owner. So there's a lot of great resources out there for members that I want you to take advantage. One other question, Sherri, you were talking about audits. What triggers an IRS audit for a small business, and is it easy to resolve? I think people get scared, especially in our community. We get scared with the whole idea of having to be audited. But what's an audit, first of all, and then what triggers it?
So, well, an audit is a review of your tax return. It's a review of the income that you reported, and it's a review of the expenses that you listed. And what triggers an audit, normally it's randomly triggered. Sometimes they do have special projects where they require more information, um, where there's different names for it. National Research Project, NRPs, as a revenue agent, that's what they were called to us. And prior to when I was a revenue agent, they've had different names for them. But anyway, sometimes they do like they try to reset audit standards, and they'll look at every single item on a return on these national research projects. But those are very rare. If you are called upon to do one of those, it's very unfortunately, it's time consuming, but the most important thing with any type of audit, whether it's the random or the research project, is that you have good records. I can't stress that enough. Like I said, like, a lot of times people, like, your bank statements are great resources, but you have to have those individual receipts because I've had audits, like I said, where people rely on a credit card statement. The credit card statement might show charges to Walmart or Target or Home Depot or Costco, and they might think, well, that's my business expense. But because stores like that sell multiple items for personal purposes, not just business purposes, that's why the IRS is always going to want to see that detailed receipt. Another recommendation I can give to somebody when it comes to record keeping and receipts, some stores are famous for the receipts fading. So if you are in a business and you have a receipt that tends to fade, I highly recommend that you make a copy of it. It's okay to make copies, paper copies. It's okay to have digital copies of your receipts to document that expense. Because ultimately, if you were called upon for an audit, it's the IRS's it's up to the IRS to prove that you misrepresented your income, but it's up to you as the taxpayer to prove the expense that you listed. So there's two different, when it comes to an audit, there's two different obligations. And for yourself, you want to make sure that you've documented your income, but it's up to the IRS to prove that you didn't document it correctly. But it's up to you to prove the expense that you had was for business. So you really need to, on both sides, but especially those receipts, keep those receipts. And the better organized you are, the better the audit will be, and the easier the audit would be if you're called upon.
Got it. Thank you so much. That's a great information. And we're going to be, I want to be mindful of your time, of course, and so you can go on and continue on to educate more members. I do want to take some time, though, real quick, to send a shout out to Beatrice, who's watching us from Miami. Thank you so much. I also want to say thank you to Jessica, to Johnny, to our friend at the Veteran ID, Brooke. Sarah, and for Bets. So thank you so much for watching over on LinkedIn. Um, and if you have any questions, remember, meet us in the neighborhood. Sherry's information will be there. Our information as well, and everything else that she shared with us will be there available for follow up. Um, any last thoughts or close to action, Sherry's? What's your next IRS career in your outlook? I just want to put you on the spot. Do you have a new job out there in the outlook for future?
Um, I really enjoy what I'm doing right now. It's rewarding. I love being able to help people. And it's always been in my nature. Anyways, I am a Libra that I'd like to help people. So I feel like I've really found my niche for the IRS. And it's funny because a coworker used to also be a revenue agent and came over to being a public affairs specialist. And knowing myself and my personality, she encouraged me to try this position because she felt it better suited me. Just so I'm glad that I've been able to do this position. So
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much, and we're glad to be connected with you and to have you in our corner to be able to respond and share with us great information that will help us be financially ready, but also will keep our careers strong. Because when we make good financial decisions, we shop better for careers, and we can do just help overall all of our families in more. Intent. So, thank you so much for watching today. Thank you, Sherry, for supporting us, and we'll look forward to staying connected with you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for attending.